Welcome to the second part of Sovereign OS. We will start with a homage to the brilliant Anthony Bourdain, then weave our own version of Solutions Unknown and how to find, develop and scale them. We will take a deeper dive into how we engage with and support community segments that are often overlooked, and then discuss leadership and how we use our own state of South Carolina as an example of what can be achieved. We hope some of this resonates with you, especially how we preempt the attacks that do come from certain career bureaucrats and NGOs who do not want to change the status quo. They may well scream for systemic change, until you point out that by inference, systemic also means changing the way we have approached change. Kind of like the tenured professors who demand term limits for politicians. Oh, the irony. The brilliant Anthony Bourdain once showed the world that the most authentic culture isn't found in five-star hotels. It's found in the back alleys and family kitchens of the world. At Sovereign OS, we believe the same is true for innovation. There is a vast, untapped reservoir of what we call solutions unknown, brilliant, local fixes for socioeconomic friction that have been ignored, suppressed, or managed into oblivion by the palliative industry. We don't build offices, we build vibrant hubs of impact. These are the laboratories of the streets where local residents with lived experience bring the solutions they've been perfecting in silence. Here, they get everything the choke point denied them: professional mentors, intellectual capital, and technical scaling, all for free. We aren't teaching them how to be smart, we're giving their smarts the OS they need to run. Then we do what the NGOs never do. We introduce them to local impact investors, people who actually care about fixing neighborhoods. And because we know the poverty pimps love to steal a good idea, we will be partnering with the Buying Pledge. The Buying Pledge ensures that innovators get full and fair value for their innovations. Rather than extracting talent, it monetizes it in place. It also ensures the innovator gets the full value they deserve and the community gets the cure it needs. We don't believe in brain drain. We believe in in-place restoration. We don't want residents to leave the community to succeed. We want them to succeed so the community can rise with them. This is the end of the savior model. This is the beginning of the sovereign hub. Authentic, local, curative. Innovation doesn't wear a tie. It wears lived experience. Sovereign OS is the megaphone for the unseen. The people with the lived experiences have the solutions. We have the architecture. Let's stop being unknown. The cure is already in the room. It's time to scale it. Now let's move on to how we embed local, national, and global impact investors into the model. Local investors and global impact investors aren't just looking for spreadsheets, they're looking for lived experience. There is a massive appetite right now for proximate leaders, local people who have lived the very problems they are solving. Why? Because they don't just understand the symptoms, they understand the root cause. When an innovator has walked the path, their solution isn't theoretical, it's surgical. We are moving away from the old NGO model. For decades, the palliative world has had to beg for funding every year just to maintain the status quo, or worse, manage a slow decline. We focus on profit for purpose. When these companies work, they are self-funding engines of change. They don't just manage a problem, they offer curative solutions. This delivers robust financial returns and measurable social and/or environmental impact. But the bridge between innovation and investment is often broken by middlemen. Not here. We will be working directly with the Buying Pledge. This means there are no introduction fees and no hidden skimming off the top. We ensure that innovators receive the full value they deserve for their brilliance, keeping the capital where it belongs, in the solution. Beyond capital, our innovators gain access to the Pledge Guardians, a powerhouse network of mentors and industry titans dedicated to scaling these local gems into global standards. This isn't charity, it's the future of the economy. Now let's look at how we support entire communities. After 2 years traveling the world twice over, asking the same question to people in the most broken corners of the map, why can't you rise? The answer wasn't a lack of awareness or a lack of empathy. It was a lack of capitals, plural. Financial, social, and intellectual capital. Then we discovered something horrific. An entire industry fighting hard to keep it that way. We saw NGOs and non-profits literally pimping people's poverty to line their own nests and secure their next grant. The poverty industry loves the status quo. To them, struggle is a business model. They suffer from the soft bigotry of low expectations, believing people need managing rather than access. They offer a palliative band-aid when what is needed is a sovereign engine. They turn the lived experiences of the marginalized into their marketing material, while they guard the choke point that keeps them from the capitals they need to scale their own solutions. We stopped the management and started the conversion. We took the high-level impact syllabus from the elite colleges and gave it to the community for free. Over 1,000 residents in Charleston, 70% women, 60% minority, have walked through our doors. We did the same for vets at the Citadel. We didn't just help them, we gave them access. And guess what? The people facing the problems actually have the best solutions. They aren't toxic assets. They are the untapped engine of the economy. Some became impact entrepreneurs launching for-profit fixes for their own neighborhoods. Others simply got better jobs. But every single one of them moved from a non-performing asset to a performing asset. They stopped being a line item for an NGO and started being the owners of their own destiny. The soft bigotry of low expectations is the most expensive tax on the poor. We're here to repeal it. Poverty is not a permanent condition. It's a capital deficiency. It's time we stop people from being props in someone else's grant proposal. That is, Sovereign OS, get the capitals. Get the cure. Let's see how we help some of the segments of society that we have specific programs for.
Less than 1% of Americans has the courage or desire to wear the uniform. Yet, that tiny fraction of heroes owns over 5% of all American businesses, pumping over $1 trillion into our economy. While the far-left elite theorize about society from their ivory towers, our veterans are actually building it. They don't just understand the intersection between virtue and victory, they live it. But how does the system reward that sacrifice? We lose 23 heroes a day to suicide. 23. That's not just a tragedy, it's a systemic execution by bureaucracy. The establishment would rather keep our vets in a palliative loop of pills and paperwork than acknowledge their power. They want to treat our warriors like broken, non-performing assets to be managed, rather than the elite innovators they are. Well, Sovereign OS says, enough! Led by Colonel C.J. Williams, a man who gave 32 years in uniform, we've launched the Sovereign OS Restorative Operating System for veterans. In the halls of the Citadel, Colonel Williams is proving what the bureaucrats can't. He has helped over 1,000 veterans transition, turning military experience into market dominance. We don't offer sympathy. We offer restructuring. We give them the capitals they need to launch businesses that solve real-world friction. Our veterans served us. Now we provide the architecture to serve them. We are moving our helping heroes move from boots to boardrooms. We don't need another awareness ribbon. We need a sovereign pipeline that recognizes discipline as the ultimate economic engine. To the critics who think our military is the problem, you are the friction. To the veterans who feel the system is closing in, Sovereign OS is your off-ramp. Reclaim your performance. Reclaim your sovereignty. Let's see how Sovereign OS helps another forgotten sector of our society. Ex-offenders re-entering their communities.
South Carolina has a $48,000 a year addiction. That is what it costs us, the taxpayers, to maintain one person in a cage. But the system doesn't want them fixed. At a 75% recidivism rate, the justice industry is running a high-volume subscription model for failure. We've spent 5 years at the Al Cannon Detention Center proving that compassionate management is actually a fiscal suicide pact. While many are busy virtue signaling about reform, they are effectively running a human capital junkyard. They call it correctional services. We call it a palliative warehouse, where potential goes to die on the public's dime. Over 400 men have entered the Sovereign OS prison program. Over 50 are back in the world. And our recidivism rate? 0. That's right. Not a single one has returned to the liability column. We didn't give them a second chance. We gave them a total balance sheet restructuring, moving them from a $48,000 annual drain to performing assets who contribute to the economy instead of consuming it. Do the math. Those 50 men alone represent a $2.4 million annual recapture in direct justice drag. That's money that isn't being burned in a palliative furnace. That is capital that is back in your communities, your schools, and your pockets. The system knows palliative is more profitable than curative, but we aren't in the profit from pain business. We're in the sovereignty business. Al Cannon was the proof. Sovereign OS is the solution. Stop managing the leak. Fix the wall. Now let's look at how we link all of the work we do with the local and global business sectors. Let's be clear. Modern business leaders are the most important people for the future of societies around the world. They aren't just managing P&Ls, they are designing and building the future. While the palliative class, the bureaucrats and career activists, are busy swanning about at their self-referential echo chamber events, business owners and leaders are the ones actually moving the needle of human potential. The world is currently run on a subscription to failure. Most corporate social responsibility is just a high-priced palliative band-aid, virtue signaling that does nothing to fix the underlying friction. They talk, we execute. In 1993, Stuart Williams co-created the first global platform for making a profit while making a difference. He didn't build a charity, he built a blueprint for curative leadership. This isn't theory, it's an audit-proof reality. Look at the impact strategy we built for the global outsourcing firm T-Tech. The impact it has had is remarkable. Visit ttech.com/impact strategy. We don't just do good, we optimize for dominance. Companies within the Sovereign OS ecosystem consistently see the highest revenues, the deepest brand equity, and the most robust profits. Why? Because they attract the best and brightest. When your employees know they are part of a curative mission, turnover vanishes and performance peaks. You aren't just hiring staff, you are recruiting sentinels. A non-performing asset in your community is a drag on your customer base and your tax bill. By partnering with Sovereign OS consultants, you learn how to recapitalize your community, turning liabilities into customers and employees. This is the ultimate curative edge. We don't tell you where to give back, we show you how to invest forward. Business for good is simply better business. The palliative era of the echo chamber drum beating is over. It's time for the innovators to lead. Reclaim your brand. Reclaim your community. Reclaim your sovereignty. Now let's look at leadership, which is so important at Sovereign OS that we say, the answer is leadership. Now what's your question? In a world drowning in palliative excuses, we don't look to bureaucrats for direction. We look to the North Stars. Major General James E. Livingston, a Medal of Honor recipient who led from the front at the Battle of Dido, didn't learn about systemic friction in a textbook. He lived it. He knows that when the system fails, only leadership can bridge the gap between catastrophe and victory. At Sovereign OS, we don't just admire his career, we have institutionalized his standard of command. But leadership isn't just for the battlefield. It's for the balance sheet. Enter Mr. Tommy Baker, a Marine who took the discipline of the Corps and built one of the most successful business legacies in South Carolina's history. Tommy didn't just build a company. He built a culture of excellence and philanthropy that has recapitalized the soul of Charleston. He is the living proof that when a leader decides to fix a broken asset, the market follows. These two men are the architects of the Baker-Livingston leadership imperative. They didn't sell us a social program. They demanded a socioeconomic victory. They taught us that you cannot empathy your way out of a crisis. You have to lead your way out. Their careers are the refutation of the palliative trance. They prove that the answer to every systemic failure is the same: character, discipline, and accountability. At Sovereign OS, we have a saying, the answer is leadership. Now what's your question? We don't care about your excuses or your managed decline. We care about the mandate. We are here because General Livingston and Tommy Baker refused to accept the status quo of human capital stagnation. They motivated us to build the world's first curative operating system. because they know that a society without leaders is just a liability waiting to happen. We are the sentinels of their legacy. We are the architects of the new sovereignty. Join the command at sovereignos.world. And now for a real example of a systemic friction score. South Carolina.
Dear South Carolina public servants, our state has a math problem. Every year we spend billions managing the symptoms of poverty, crime, and educational decline. We call it funding, but it really is a systemic friction tax. We know you are all trying, and that you are probably as frustrated as we are, because every time we increase the revenues of the state, it costs us more in friction taxes. Right now, our state's systemic friction score is bleeding our budget dry. Our score is 41 out of 100, and we are leaking over $15 billion each year. Please see for yourself at www.sovereignos.world. The self-populating webpage will also show you how much money we can get the state back. As a teaser, it is in the billions. What does that mean? It means that our current cost of managing failure exceeds our sustainable budget thresholds. In other words, we are paying the palliative care poverty industry to manage the decline of our citizens instead of curing the root cause of the problems. An intervention is required to recapitalize our great state. Sovereign OS is the world's first human and community-centric socioeconomic operating system that unlocks the capital flow choke points that prevent progress. It was born right in Charleston and has had such an impact that in 2023, the city of Charleston made March 29th each year Stewart M. Williams Day. At the College of Charleston, our Impact X class is the #1 rated course at the School of Business. Why? Because it doesn't teach students how to get a job, it teaches them how to create a future. Impact X. Graduates see an 11% higher starting salary because they are trained as curative leaders. In our communities, we've trained over 1,000 residents in our free classes. The demographics prove the Sovereign OS works for everyone. 70% women, 60% minority, and 50% from the most marginalized segments of our state. We aren't giving them a handout. We are giving them the intellectual and social capital to launch solutions unknown that fix their own zip codes. But here is the smoking gun, the Al Cannon Detention Center. After 5 years of implementing Sovereign OS, our recidivism rate for participants in the class is 0. Not improved, not lower. 0 for the 50-plus men who have been released. We are doing the same for our veterans. We are moving them from the palliative VA loop into roles as sentinels of innovation. From third-grade classrooms with Jenny Whittle's Innovate to graduate syllabus to our prison cells and our boardrooms, the Sovereign OS system is the only architecture capable of touching every segment of South Carolina's population. The financial and fiscal ROIs for the state are undeniable. By turning citizens who are non-performing into performing assets, we will reduce the systemic friction score. We don't just save money, we recapture it, and every point we drop in friction is tens of millions of dollars back into the general fund. It's less crime, less homelessness, and more local businesses paying into the tax base instead of drawing from it. Two of our great state's most lauded leaders, General James E. Livingston and Mr. Tommy Baker, have been so impressed with this work that they have created Impact Lowcountry, a 501c3 with the specific purpose of rolling Sovereign OS out across all of South Carolina. The Baker-Livingston leadership imperative that they have created will mandate success. However, this is a team sport, and the state government has to play its role. By being in place, there is no capital extraction flowing back to large office buildings in New York City, Washington, D.C., or Boston with the names of big consulting firms on them. As all the gains are kept right here, we can continue to fund the choke points, or we can lead the world in the development of curative societies. Other states and even nations are interested in rolling out the Sovereign OS operating system. But because we love home so much, we want South Carolina to be known as the home of the future operating system for humanity. We have the architecture, we have the results, and we have the sentinels ready to deploy. So no more plausible denial, we are at the tipping point. Visit sovereignos.world to see the audit. Let's get to work. Now let's look at just how politically agnostic Sovereign OS is.
Let's talk about the one thing that terrifies a career bureaucrat more than a budget cut. A solution that actually works. Right now, in the hallowed, carpeted halls of both the left and the right, there's a nervous twitch starting to develop. Why? Because Sovereign OS is about to burst their palliative bubbles. You see, for decades, the bureaucracy hasn't been in the business of curing problems. It's been in the business of managing them. If you solve the problem, you lose the department, the staff, and the emergency funding. Sovereign OS is the ultimate pink slip for the status quo. Let's look at the fiscal hawks on the right. They spend every campaign trail screaming about economic vibrancy, cutting the deficit, and slashing government waste. Well, here we are. Sovereign OS creates self-funding circular economies and nukes the need for endless palliative spending. If the right tries to fight this, they aren't pro-growth. They're just pro-red tape. Any conservative who shoots down a self-sustaining, debt-free economic engine is effectively admitting they'd rather keep the taxpayer on the hook than let a local market actually breathe. And then we have the champions of the people on the left. They love to talk about equity and uplifting the marginalized, but usually their version of uplift involves a 400-page application for a grant that only covers half the rent. Sovereign OS actually puts the tools of production and the full value of innovation directly into the hands of the marginalized. If left fights this, they aren't pro-equity, they're pro-dependence. You can't claim to want people to rise up while simultaneously blocking the very OS that gives them the ladder. The beauty of Sovereign OS is that it's aggressively apolitical. It doesn't care who you voted for. It only cares that the system is efficient, circular, and curative. It does what the right says it wants and what the left claims to care about. So, to the bureaucrats readying their pushback, we see you. If you try to kill this, you're not protecting the public. You're just protecting your parking spot. We're moving past the palliative age. You can either help us build the future, or you can stay in your bubble and watch it pop. Now let's summarize all of it. Sovereign OS is not another do-good idea. It works and we have the proof. If you're an American state or a small island developing state, visit sovereignos.world and click on the drop-down menu to see your systemic friction score. We will train, certify, and license appropriate governments, public and private partnerships, existing consulting companies, private companies, family offices, or teams to do the work in place. On the Process tab of our website is an anonymous 3-minute quiz that, upon submission, will immediately return one of 3 suggestions as to the appropriateness of inquiring about the licensing process. The team at sovereignos.world is here to help. Together, we will build a curative world that is better for everyone. Thank you for your interest. Contact admin@sovereignos.world for more information.